So yeah, my mother's gone, my father's gone, my sister's a teenager now. Her and her friends hated me. I was the annoying little sister. I just felt rejected and neglected, and this is the part of my life where I did start to feel different. I had other friends in the neighborhood, but Helen was the only friend that was allowed to come over. I was never allowed to have friends over. Not to mention, nobody wanted to come near my house because my grandmother was so scary to people. Like, people feared her because she just was just the stern lady, who didn't want to be bothered. She didn't want to be bothered with me. She definitely didn't want to be bothered with anybody else's kids, that's for sure. Yeah, I just remember, again, being very talkative, asking a lot of questions, and my grandmother would tell me, go shut up and sit down. Being a energetic little girl turned into me being hyperactive, and I started to have problems in school, disruption problems. I think I was craving the attention. I think that I just wanted somebody to notice me, because every turn that I made, I was getting smaller and smaller in this universe until I basically shut down as a child, because again, I felt rejected and neglected. You know, like, why? How can you can't understand the concept of death, or your parents leaving you. Like, it's so hard for a child to wrap their mind around these things, and you get coping mechanisms. You start acting out, you start doing things. You're not loved, you're neglected, rejected, and you don't feel wanted. And again, my grandparents, especially my grandmother, did not make up for the lack of love that I was getting as a child, who needs that, who needs reassurance, who needs just encouragement. I had none of that. Anything I ever wanted to do as a child, I wasn't allowed to do it. Every turn that I made, I was, my grandmother told me I would always fail. I was never going to be good enough, or it's just negative all the way down the line. If I wanted to go do a sport, I wasn't allowed to do the sport because of some just negative outcome of me playing the sport. I wanted to play clarinet when I got a little bit older. My grandparents had clarinets because all of my aunts and uncles played the clarinet in school. My sister played the clarinet in school. There was a clarinet there that I wanted to play in school, and I wasn't allowed to play the clarinet because my sister used to leave her clarinet on the bus, and I was told that I am forgetful and I'm going to leave the clarinet on the bus and lose it, and she just didn't feel like dealing with it. So anything that any of the other children, her children, grandchildren did, I was not allowed to do it. She just didn't want to deal with it. So I was stuck doing nothing as a child. I remember spending most of my time by myself. Yes, I had Helen. Yes, I had her, but again, I had to go home sometime. I never got toys. I never got any new toys. I had to play with toys from the 70s and 80s that were my aunt's or my sister's. Christmas time came along, I would get clothes that were too big for me. I very rarely got things that I asked Santa for. There were no more big birthday parties. I always had to share a birthday with my younger cousin and my sister, because all of our birthdays are in July, all of us girls. So I never had a special birthday just for me. I never felt special. I felt like a black sheep very early on. I felt like an outcast, unwanted, really. Um, it was sad. It was a very sad time for me. But again, I was a cheerful, bubbly girl. I don't remember anything, but I was just a happy girl. If I got a birthday present, it would be one small, dinky toy. And my cousin probably got something better than me, too. Same thing for Christmas. My cousins, my sister, they all got great things, and I was like the afterthought. I hated it, and I realized it very early. Like, what? I'm not allowed to have cool or nice things because you pay for my everyday living. I just didn't understand why. Like, why did they get better things than me? I was given like socks and underwear for Christmas. That's it. And it got worse as I got older. Yeah, it was just weird to me.
I'm editing the videos and I just have to add something that's may or may not be significant, but I think it's pretty funny. When I was around 9 years old, I didn't believe in Santa at this point because I never got anything that I wanted off of the Christmas list that I wrote. Because I don't believe in Santa, I started snooping around the house to see what my grandmother was buying for Christmas, and I happened to find my sister and myself our presents for this particular year. And I ran to my sister and I told her everything that we were going to get for Christmas. And of course, she can't keep a secret, and she still can't keep a secret. But she went back and told my grandmother. My grandmother wound up taking everything back that I thought I was getting. And I think I may have gotten a few articles of clothes that year, and I got coal in my stocking.
I do remember getting, I think it was for Christmas. Yes, for around Christmas time. My cousin, had a big fit because I got more presents than her. But my cousin failed to realize that she has a mother and father. She's coming to her grandparents' house to get a couple gifts from grandmom and poppy. I don't have a mother and father. This is all that I get, and it wasn't much at all. And most of the stuff that I got wasn't that great. I remember my cousin coming over with all kinds of cool stuff, and yeah, I didn't have the luxury of getting anything that I wanted. Every couple years I would get something that I really, really wanted. And I think it was because of my grandfather. Honestly, like, I wanted a Game Boy one year. I got that and a couple games. I loved that thing. I love that Game Boy. Actually, I still have it. um, yeah, and then like when the upgraded Game Boys came out, Game Boy Color and things like that, I got those things too. But it wasn't a lot, but it did teach me something. It taught me something very important. Um, as I got older, I am very thankful for anything that I get in my life now to this day. I don't believe in Christmas lists and things like that. Like, I believe that what you get for Christmas comes from a person's heart. Like, I don't believe in asking for things. Like, if, for instance, a lot of people say, "What do you want for your birthday?" I don't believe in that. No, just get me what you feel like you want to get me. I don't have a preference on things. Anything is better than nothing. It's the small stuff that really matters to me because I wasn't spoiled growing up, and I guess I learned very early on just to be appreciative for the little things that I did get. I used to love when my little cousin would come down to visit. My uncles had boats. He kept his boat down my grandparents' house during the summertime, and they would come down on the weekends and we would go out on the boat. But of course, there were many times where I wasn't allowed to go out on the boat because they wanted their family time, and it hurt my feelings. I loved it, and I love my cousin, but I started to resent her in a way because she did have a mom and dad, a normal mom and dad. She had a huge family, aunts and uncles who loved her dearly. She had great big birthday parties, great big Christmases. Um, yeah, and the families, they tried to include me. They tried to treat me like their own, but it's not the same. It's not the same as being, an actual child or something of them. They didn't treat me. I was the niece. They treated me like the niece, and I was thankful. I was thankful for the boat rides and stuff that I did get. But there were many times where I wasn't allowed to go, and I was left there to, entertain myself with 70s and 80s toys. Yep, and yeah, it was sad. It was a sad time. My grandfather on my mother's side would come down to visit 2 weekends out of the month, and he would take me to McDonald's. I love when he would come down because we would go to McDonald's, and we never ate fast food growing up, ever. If we did have fast food, it was because we were taking like a road trip or something and we went to Wendy's, and I could not wait to get that McDonald's Happy Meal to get a new toy that I could play with, because I was so sick of playing with the same toys that I had played with for all these years. Yeah, so my grandfather came down, and that was one of my favorite things to do. My aunt, my mom's sister, would pick me up once or twice out of the month as well, and I would spend weekends with her, and we would do all kinds of stuff. We would go to the zoo. I loved going to my Aunt Lenny's house. I loved it, and she used to play VHSs of my mom too, so I really look forward to that. Just going there, we would swim in the pool, and I got to see my cousins on the other side, and it was really good. It was good. It gave not only my grandparents a break, especially my grandmother, but I got to feel a part of something. I felt like I had a family when I was with my aunts. On my mom's side, I felt more at home, I guess, with them. And not to mention, they were a little bit younger than my grandparents were, and they could understand me a little bit better. Yeah, so I loved that. They did. I slowly got older, and those visits slowly dwindled down to less and less. For the most part, all of those family and friends that were at the hospital the day that I was born were pretty much non-existent at this point. There were, again, no more big birthday parties. Everybody was broken apart, and I was just kind of shuffled from here to there, at the cost of what my grandmother wanted, ultimately.